Kim is AMAZO. Terry's dead.
Things start spicing up a little bit.
So we were really striving to make this a relatable relationship between everyone, where it's just two teenagers that are kind of flirting and don't know where they're going yet. So this was a real, we shot it right here actually. So I was driving Nicole's car. I wasn't even driving my car because I have a tiny car.
I was like, let's film this scene in the car as you guys are driving, because it was actually supposed to be a shot that took place on a rooftop. But it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds, I kid you not. It was like really gusty that day.
We were driving her car and Andrew was in the back seat.
Very much Captain America, Winter Soldier vibes. But it was a really cool scene, and it was a really nice scene to film between the two of them.
Oh my god! Something just attacked the city.
Is it AMAZO?
Suit up.
I didn't actually feel the weight of like not filming, but like the process itself until I had put the logos on the costumes I was making. Because a costume by itself, it's like, oh, it's Bart's red jacket with yellow shoulder things. I made that, cool, whatever. I made Clark's top, whatever, it's like a blue shirt, right? You put the logos on, oh my gosh, you just made a superhero's costume. I love sewing it on. It took individual needle threads, but wow, that's what made it a superhero costume.
So Palomar, we were extremely blessed because the Phelpses run Starhaven, which is a Airbnb, and they allowed us to go up for a couple of weekends and just stay. So look up Airbnb, Starhaven, it's fabulous. Stay in a famous spot.
So number one, Palomar was so gorgeous. Where we were staying, it was just beautiful. Everywhere you look, it's greenery, it's lush, it's beautiful. At times it got like chilly, but other than that, it was just gorgeous. You couldn't take your eyes off of everything around you. So filming was like so nice. I think everyone just had a great time up there.
Being up on Palomar was really fun because it was like we had our own little house and we had our own little sanctuary. Being able to wake up and get ready for this superhero thing with everybody else in the room and in the house getting ready for the same superhero thing was really cool, because that doesn't really happen in a lot of my life, I would say, actually.
One of my favorite parts about it was when I was like not being filmed and we were just like, or like when it was late and we were just playing video games or whatever we were doing, you know.
There was a lot of time in between. Me and the Heirs at night, we played Among Us when that was big. That was really fun. Me and Jordan one time had the longest break ever, and so all we did was watch John Mulaney videos, and that was hilarious.
First weekend was beginning of September, second weekend was end of October. So over about 6 days, we filmed a bunch of stuff for episodes 8 and 9. Then we get into the fight sequences.
I've worked with Andrew's wife, Kristen, in a stage production we were doing Oklahoma, and she asked me to choreograph the big stage fight scene. Is kind of this big brawl that we put together. And so I did that, and I guess through that, Kristen kind of approached Andrew and said, hey, you've got this fighting that you need choreographed, why don't you talk to Daniel? He and I, and then our wives, we all got together, we had dinner, we talked about the fights and kind of what he wanted and how it was all gonna go. And so I started getting ideas, and then I wanted to meet the cast. And so we set up a meeting for kind of learn each other's names and faces and kind of their capabilities. We went over their experience, and like almost no one had any fighting experience. I think Michael said he'd done Taekwondo when he was a kid, and Will had done a little bit of like wrestling and that kind of thing. It was an issue of trying to take people who don't have a lot of experience and do choreography that looks convincing but also is not too taxing. And props to them, you know, in a big setting, there'd be stunt people and so on and so forth, but we don't have that. And they really embraced taking on the choreography and putting in the time and putting in the effort to get something that looks good on screen.
Yeah, so Daniel was great. I thought he did a really good job. And especially with our choreography, You know, a lot of the fights, and he expressed that, like, you know, usually it's easier to do 1 versus 1 fights, but we have like twice the heroes as we have villains. So particularly Will had to do a lot of it. But Daniel was just very patient, and I thought his moves were clever. I thought it was cool. I thought it gave everyone a chance to shine. We didn't want anyone to feel like, you know, just like, why are you here? You're not helping out with the fight.
Yeah, the fight scenes were awesome. I pulled the choreographer aside, Daniel Robinson, and I told him the kind of fight style that I'd like to do. I basically told him Ben Affleck's Batman, because he's brutal. A little bit of Bane, because he again is brutal, and I think Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. I just wanted all the just cut to the chase, brutal, like, I don't need to jab 3 times. I should just go straight for the haymaker and make sure it hits and it counts. You know, obviously everybody, you know, I'm not going to break any bones because they are all superheroes, you know, but definitely I need to put them on the ground and move on to the next one, and just kind of the dominoes, get it done. And I think Daniel did a really good job getting that fight style in there.
It added a whole new element when we had to put the costumes on, particularly with me. My pants just wanted to fall down the whole time. When we get knocked down, then we get all the Palomar brush all over us, so we're having to brush each other off between scenes and stuff. And it took a long time, and it was tiring. It really was. You know, we're getting sweaty, and it's like, it really was probably the most exhausting thing we had to do. But when it comes to superheroes, that's what you expect, the big action scenes. So I think it was the most important thing we had to do as well.
But the way the fight scenes turned out, I think looks amazing.
How the hell do you have powers?
Playing the villain is always kind of fun because you don't have to worry about like having a smile on your face all the time, especially with AMAZO because she doesn't have any dialogue. I just had to stand there and look mean the whole time and beat people up, which was really tiring, but fun.
My background in martial arts is not so much stick fighting. And in fact, it's not really so much hand-to-hand. I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then a lot of fencing. So the kind of Eskrima, Kali type of fighting is not really in my wheelhouse. So it was a process for me to kind of learn how to kind of teach it and get across something that might translate well to the screen.
The fights and stuff, learning the fights and doing all the fights at Palomar were honestly one of the funnest parts of this whole thing for me. The stick fight that we end up doing is probably my favorite part of the entire series, because I don't know why, but like I just felt so good about it the whole time. Like it was really fun choreography. It was really fast, and I really liked the fast-paced choreography, especially when I knew what I was doing. I just felt like I was having a lot of fun, and I felt like I was like, yeah, this is real. I'm doing it, you know?
I think it was important to film that early in the process because we got hard stuff out of the way. That was some of the toughest filming days I can remember, because while I knew in my head how I wanted them to look, I hadn't storyboarded out the fight sequences.
Andrew's trying to do this like wide around shot where you can see like the backs of our costumes, but people like Cassie have like open backs with Velcro that you can see, and obviously you don't want the audience to know that she has like Velcro on her back. Even AMAZO had Velcro on her back, where like, because these are not obviously like metal suits. So it was hard, I know, for Andrew to be able to film around that, and I know that's definitely one of his hardest editing scenes. So like things like that were like the problem shooting areas.
It was all pretty much foam besides like my leggings, and the foam part is interesting to make when it has to be like pretty tight, which is why I went to Manon's house and got saran wrapped beforehand to make sure that it fit correctly. Somehow, in between then, my costume had a giant gap where we Velcroed it together, and like it seemed like some days it was like slightly smaller and some days it was bigger. I'm not sure why. So a lot of the shots we couldn't film of my back because of that, because it was just an open gap.
Yeah, pretty much every single night, and like between like takes and stuff, I would like be taking it back to do like touch-ups, and I would bring up my entire like costuming like first aid kit basically to the cabin. So I would have like extra paint, extra hot glue, extra like Velcro, all the stuff that might be needed, and I did end up having to use it at some point or another.
At one point on Palomar, I saw Manon using a cool thing, so I want to tell you all about it. They have hot glue ropes instead of the hot glue sticks. They have a whole like 3-foot rope, and that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. So remember that.
So it was my job, I know Mercy wasn't doing anything up there, but it was my job to just keep everybody fed and make sure all the equipment got where it needed to be. And that was really fun to just be a part of it without having to really stress about what my character was doing, because my character's not there.
I keep an Altoids tin that's empty, and I keep it full of safety pins. I also brought a needle and thread with me, and I know that Kristen, she brought along a hot glue gun, and that's how we reattached my heel for one of the scenes.
People coming in, oh my goodness, my heel broke on my shoe. It's like, okay, let's find the glue gun and fix that and send that out.
Like I previously stated, this was the second iteration of the Batsuit. So before we started filming, Chris and I were madly gluing, stapling, painting so much of my costume and so many props. We're like, we came down to a situation, instead of using elastic straps, we used like Velcro straps, and that seemed to work better. But it was still like trying to figure out how to fasten it to the suit itself, because we learned from our last escapade that glue was a fun thing on foam. I never really figured out how to keep those darn biceps up, so I was constantly asking Will and Manon and Kristen and Holly and literally everyone on the set to push up my biceps, because I felt bad asking the same person over and over.
We had the red material, and I was like to Nicole, can I make my pants? Because I had made pants once before, and while they did rip, I was so proud of myself. So I decided to make my pants for Bart, for Impulse. So I made my pants for Impulse, and they like ripped all the time. I had so many shots where I'm like, Andrew, please don't have my butt in shot because there's a big old rip in it.
So those costumes, they were on their last leg by the last night we had to use them. So I'm glad that they lasted as long as they did, because it was looking rough for a while, but luckily you can't tell on camera. They look pretty good on camera.
Get out of here! I had made a second mask because that first mask it was starting to fall apart. So I made my second mask really strong. And this first mask I still had, and I wanted it to look real, like I was being shot in the face. So I took like a little candle lighter, and I was just slowly burning everything in a fireplace, so I was being safe. But I was slowly melting the foam so that it looked like it had burned away. It starts with when I had the Batarang, and I stabbed Manon in the neck, and it was really cool. I don't know whether it was Kristen or Manon, somebody came up with the idea of spirit gumming the Batarang to her neck and then putting makeup on it so it looked like she had been scorched and electrocuted. And I thought that was a really cool looking shot. We shot me lying down, and I was like, the costume probably can't take much more after this. And then we had to come back up to Palomar and film me actually falling down in the suit. And so that was a fun time for that costume, and just making sure that everything stayed where it should stay, I would say.
I had two options for Andrew. I said I can either play this like Harry Potter when Sirius dies and totally go ballistic and scream, or I could be silent and it's just like that like bone-crushing silence of realization and just watching it happen. And we decided on the scream.
I was cooking dinner for everybody, and they were all filming, and all of a sudden, just the entire area, just this blood blood-curdling scream, and I could hear it in the cabin and it kept going and going and going. I was like, oh my goodness.
Hurt my voice a little bit in the process, and it was hard. And I said this in the other interview, that it was the hardest scene to film because not only did I have to scream that loudly of bloody murder without damaging my voice, but I also had to kick against Holly, who was trying to hold on to me as Cassie to make sure that I wasn't gonna go running.
It was a little bit difficult trying to like hold her back because we were going up like kind of a steep part. So like going backwards up a mountain, trying to drag someone back who's doing everything they can to break out and run. And then having to like kind of sit them down. And then of course, you know, the tree, laying against the tree with an open back suit was great too. And then like trying to have the emotional thing like with Cassie and Bella, with Cassie trying to like calm Bella down but not really knowing how to. It was just like a really emotional and hard scene to film.
We have to go somewhere they won't find us. Somewhere no one would ever think to find us.
Hey guys, what's up? So, Coach McGinnis is really...
Yeah.
How about some grub? My mom says I make the best Hot Pockets.
So yeah, there's the Hot Pockets scene. Again, yeah, we bought those Hot Pockets. I think there were like 3 of them. Once again, very old. I don't think I ate them.
Come on, Arnie, think. Every cool superhero team has a cool superhero team name.
That the other heirs came up with. I think there was a day we were just trying to like come up with random dumb names that didn't make any sense. But yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, they're done.
And like I said in a past interview, the timing with the microwave, that was frustrating. But we got it luckily. And Jeffrey did point out, he's like, couldn't you have just like made a microwave sound effect? But that's not how we do it here. We're real.
Hey, guys, they're done.
As you can see, my artistic skills are not the best. So trying the logo, I thought I made it look as best as I could do it.
Oh, they're done. That's why they call it a Hot Pocket. Guys, they're done.
Cut. That's a wrap for Brendan.